to another episode of Badass Banking, and today I'm with Kelly Schultz. How are you, Kelly?
Hey, Brian, I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Now you're the president of Allied Payment Network, right?
Correct.
Tell us a little about the company, because it's the name Payment Network probably confuses people, and some people confuse you with Allied Solutions.
Yeah, that's right. So, and both companies are in Indiana, by the way. So Allied Payment Network and Allied Solutions. So we do face that challenge, although our brand is building traction. So I think that is becoming less of an issue as we grow. So Allied Payment Network was founded by Ralph Marcaselli. And this company is based in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We serve banks and credit unions, generally community financial institutions, with a full suite of bill payment and surrounding products, transfer products like P2P, A2A, e-bills products, those types of things.
Now, you're not in Indiana, you're in Kentucky, right?
You'll detect the Southern accent. Yes, I am in Kentucky. I'm just south of Louisville in Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Now, and tell us a little about your iPay experience.
So I've been doing bill pay since about 1998 in some form or fashion. We did build a great company in iPay, myself and several other leaders and the founders, Dana and Mike Bowers, who built that company. We exited that to Jack Henry back in 2010. And so I thought I was done with bill payment. I did my year of transition and kind of walked away. And went and did some turnaround and other tech advisory, startup advisory in the fintech space work. But I got frustrated along the way. Ralph was one of my advisory clients. His company was mainly focused on Picture Pay at the time, which was their flagship product, take a photo, pay a bill kind of technology. And the closer I got to it, I realized that the legacy bill pay companies that had been bought by large, corporations had stopped innovating, and we really weren't done. Our work was very important. And as I started to dig into it further, I realized that we were losing traction as an industry. So my passion around trying to help community banks and credit unions secure their relationships and grow those relationships, was kind of eroding as a result of just products going stale and just not kind of keeping up with the pace of technology change. And so I was really drawn to work with Ralph to try to figure out how to help bring that back. And I learned along the way, Brian, that I'm a really, really bad consultant. I don't do well in handing off business plans and letting someone else execute. I have to get my hands dirty. And so, the rest is kind of history. It was like one step at a time along that path that I got kind of part-time involved. And, the next thing you know, here we are, chasing the vision to bring bill pay back to life to a degree for community banks and credit unions.
Yeah, well, we have a lot in common when it comes to Jack Henry, that's for sure.
For sure.
I'm doing the consulting thing. I'm enjoying it. I'm kind of part-time retired, and I'm still doing 50 hours a week of work. I don't quite get it, but I'm enjoying kind of the independence right now, and I think that's here to stay. Let's talk about COVID for a minute. So how are you handling COVID personally and professionally? That's been a real challenge.
It's been a wild ride, and I think everyone would say that in some form or fashion. For me, it's been interesting. So I have 3 kids, ranging in age, and I say kids, but college age all the way down to 12. And so, trying to keep the kids on task with school and changing schedules is a real challenge, alongside trying to run a company. So that keeps me busy. The company has done really well, and our employees adapted beautifully to the change. So we really, back in, I guess, late March, we found out that, this COVID pandemic was about to take over the world, and literally made a decision and sent everyone home to work full remote within 24 hours. So I felt really blessed that we were able to do that and that we were capable of doing that. I often find myself trying to imagine what this pandemic experience would have been like 10 years ago without the tech and without, all of the ready BCP plans and, those types of things that enabled us to make that shift so fast. So we really have been counting our blessings. I can say our team is closer, tighter knit. The interactions and the communications are stronger as a result. So I always try to look for silver linings, in any, negative event. And I think if there's one to be found here, we've learned to communicate in different ways and stay connected in ways that maybe our kids knew before, but we hadn't quite adapted ourselves.
I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing my banker friends, my supply side or vendor friends are saying the same thing. I mean, they are amazed at how easy it was to adjust to work from home. The only challenge they're faced with, and I am too, is you still miss that personal camaraderie, the troublemaking, the going out for a drink or two or four. I remember I was a Gizio with a bit of a reputation, but yeah, I miss that part of it. That's tough, but we're going to get through it. I mean, fortunately for us, I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. Let's just keep praying that things are going to work out okay. Let's talk about the payment space as a whole. As a leader in the industry and an influencer in the industry, what are you seeing as far as some of the trends in the payment space?
Well, I think that it's an interesting segue to go from COVID conversation to payments right now. I see a big shift in generations that I think didn't think they would shift the way they were making payments, but as a result of quarantines and just not being able to do business in the way that we typically would, or even interact as consumers with businesses the way that we typically would. It's kind of amazing to watch that adaptation to these new methods. So cash is dirty; nobody wants to touch it. Even debit cards or credit cards, you go through a drive-through, if you have to hand the card off, it's kind of, makes you cringe a little. And, you grab the Clorox wipes, and so those types of things I think are causing people to think differently about contactless payment and how is it that, we are able to transact either through an app or in other contactless mechanisms in order to, make that payment without having to touch a surface or someone else.
Yeah,
so
I'm contactless. I hate it, and I don't use cash. I mean, my wife goes to the ATM for me when I need cash. Like we're tipping some people this time of year. That's what people do, right? So I'm getting cash because they want cash, but cash is gross.
Yeah, I know. You kind of want to spray it with Lysol or something.
And coins are a whole nother thing. I do have like a bag of coins I need to do something with.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you're seeing right now or expecting?
Well, so P2P payments is something that is huge, and account-to-account transfers. So, and this kind of goes back to the COVID thing too. I think if you'd been lagging behind technology with your digital experience, COVID was the ginormous spotlight that made it incredibly obvious now to all of your customers, anyone that you might have, been engaging in a digital experience. If that was not up to par, you were hearing about it because, people needed it. It wasn't like an option now. It was a true need. And so that big shiny spotlight really has caused an about face in reevaluating digital solutions altogether and reimagining how fast you want to adapt your technology, because consumer demand is now moving faster than the technological changes are moving. Because they've become, used to the experience. I've got a great example. Just this week, I have my high school class, right? And they formed a Facebook group. We have a member of our class who is struggling financially, and the class lead, I guess, put out a message to the whole graduating class of that year. We've got this friend in need. Can we do something, to kind of pull together and help the family? And you would not believe the number of transactions coming in, whether it's through PayPal or Venmo or some other means. It's all being done electronically, P2P payment style. And it is I haven't seen one time anyone ask, how do I do that? Or are you sure that's safe? Or, all those conversations we were having 10 years ago are out the window. They're gone.
Yeah. I'm actually, it's funny you brought that up. So I've got a high school friend who I put something on Facebook the other day. I'm like, hey, listen, if you're in trouble or someone in trouble, and you need a little helping hand or even some advice, reach out to me. So yesterday I heard from a friend of mine in Toronto who I know has had serious health issues. She's been in the hospital in and out. And I don't know much about the Canadian system, but I always thought it was fantastic. Well, she's running into some financial challenges as it pertains to her pharmaceutical drugs. So she's like, I am looking for some help and some advice. I know you're part of a nonprofit down there in Virginia. Maybe you can help me identify people through United Way in Toronto or Kingston, Ontario, where she is. So then I started talking to some of the other friends of mine from high school, and I graduated in 1980, so these are old friends, and we're all getting together. We're like, well, let's get her some money. Well, the next thing it's like, well, wait a minute, I can't use Square to get money to Canada that easily. So now, do I use TransferWise? What do I do? What we ended up doing, and I hate to say this, we started writing checks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that horrible? So there's like a whole but now because it's international, it's a whole different challenge.
Wow, I had not thought of that.
Yeah, and there was a bit of a trust concern with the cross-border thing. And for me, the point of least resistance was just to surrender and say, okay, let's all just send checks. Either that or I was going to front the money and then have to be the bill collector from all the class members, right?
Yeah, right.
Interesting. Let's finish up this conversation with a discussion about the ugly stepchild of digital banking, which is bill pay and bill management. It seems like that is an attribute of digital banking that we all need every darn day, but the financial services industry almost seems like it's forgotten about it.
Yeah, I think complacency kills. And I think at the end of the day, what's happened is billers were able to create sleek apps. And it's super easy, right? If you've got a payment going from one individual through an app to one biller, super easy to do that all day, every day. And so when the biller started making it so easy to pay directly through apps on your phone, that became an easier experience than trying to set your bills up, and then you still had to receive the bill somewhere else. So you were getting information from outside, in order to be able to pay your bill through the bank or credit union bill pay space. So what's really been needed are really, I think, three things. I think it's, speed of the transaction is important. And so when we talk about COVID, cash flow has never been more important to people than it is right now. And we conserve cash even if we don't need to. We're just in the back of our minds, we're worried about the economy and the state of the union here. And so speed of the transaction is important. I need to be able to make a last minute payment on the day I get paid.
Yep.
The ability to see my up to the minute information, such as my now credit card balance versus my statement balance and that type of information, that was available on the app, but not available in traditional bank or credit union bill pay. And then, I think, the last component really is transparency. So I made the payment and now I wait.
Right.
And I don't know if the payment landed or if
when
I'm
does
going
it
to
hit?
Payment. Yeah. When does it hit?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's really speed, it's transparency of that end user's payment actually landing at the biller and being posted with credit for that. And, it is information that was available. So in order to go back to where we were, so we had about 40% adoption across the industry. So 40% of digital banking users paid bills through the bank. Now we're sitting down at about 22%. So over 10 years, we lost like almost half of the traction that we had. And, some bankers have asked me, well, why is that even important? I just pay you more for every transaction we process. I don't pay anything when they pay it through the biller. Well, it's important because you want to own the primary banking relationship, and it is about engagement. So at the end of the day, and I know, Brian, you and I've had lots of conversations about the importance of the engaged user and how valuable that is, but any checking account is not the same. You have to own the profitable checking account in order for it to be worth even having open. So bill pay is a hook in that you can't pay bills if you don't have money in the account. So you automatically get that direct deposit, which also drives debit card usage, which drives regular digital banking sign-ins to check balances and transact and things like that. And so at the end of the day, bill pay is a hook that secures the primary banking relationship. And that's what we've lost sight of in this industry. the worst thing that can happen to us is that we let that fall into the hands of T-Mobile, for heaven's sakes, or any large retailer, and they are clamoring at the depository relationships right now and trying to come at those. So I think it's important that we step up our game and regain control of our turf in this space.
I agree. The telecoms also want the data.
Yeah.
There's a lot of data in there, and that's data that can be, leveraged to create better enriched banking relationships between, consumers or members, depending upon, whether you're a bank or credit union. Well, I appreciate all your insight today. Any special plans for the holidays with the family?
It's going to be a quiet one here. We're going to be doing some Zoom Christmas, parties and events and games with some of the extended family. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a different kind of Christmas, but I think it will be cozy also. So I'm looking forward to it.
I think a Zoom meeting after a couple of drinks could be pretty entertaining.
It can indeed.
Especially with like high school alumni and, old friends. That could be dangerous. Again, I appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck. I know you guys are doing great things, and Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.
Same to you, Brian. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.